Let's do the news. And in our first story, President Akufo-Addo has once again reiterated his government's commitment to making Accra the cleanest city in Africa by the end of his first term. Coming just a week after the sanitation minister suggested the timeline for the fulfillment of the promise had been postponed, the renewed commitment should put to rest all such doubts, except the latest promise didn't come across as emphatic as the first. Jojo Kobna has more.
The commitment by the president in 2017 was emphatic.
Within these 4 years, by the end of the 4 years of my term in office as president, Accra will be the cleanest city in Africa. That is where we want to get to. That is the commitment I'm making on your behalf and on all our behalves, that by the end of the 4 years of Akufo-Addo's presidency, Accra will be the cleanest city in the entire African continent.
Last week, though, Sanitation Minister Cecilia Dapa put it differently.
Inshallah, the president will go for 2 terms, and at the end, Accra would have been, and we are on course. God is in control, and the battle is still the Lord's. And to tell you that His Excellency, the President, is so serious with this call to all of us to make Accra the cleanest city and Ghana a clean country, that he has put the Ministry of Sanitation and Water Resources on the top priority list.
Her comment drew sharp criticism from the public, especially when the ministry had already stated poor sanitation cost the country $290 million annually. President Akufo-Addo, during a meeting with members of the National Anti-Corruption Action Plan at the Jubilee House on Monday, acknowledged the back and forth had generated controversy, but assured he wasn't going to abandon the initial commitment yet.
I have myself an important commitment that I've made to the people of this country, that I want our capital city to be one of the cleanest, if not the cleanest city in the continent by the end of my term. There is now some discussion as to exactly when is the end of my term. We have this discussion in the parliament. But let us take it that it's even 2020. And therefore, it's a matter of considerable significance for me. I'm not so sure that a coordinating agency is necessary the way forward.
Chairman, Ghana Anti-Corruption Coalition, Nana Osei-Bonsu, suggested that government sets up an agency to coordinate all sanitation-related activities of government.
There will be the need to put in mechanisms aimed at strengthening the sector ministry to improve the effectiveness in the delivery of sanitation at the district levels. At the moment, there seems to be poor coordination of sanitation from the ministry to MMDAs. This problem could be a challenge for accountability.
The president disagreed, stating that there are too many committees seeking to tackle the problem.
Agency, the sanitation. For myself, there are too many coordinating and committees in our governmental system. Yes, that there are ministers who are being put in charge to take decisions. Yes, I believe that those who are, it's not an easy matter from where we're coming from, the sanitation situation in our country. But I'm very confident in the ability of the people I've put in charge of it to get us results. And at the end of the day, the results there will be a day when those results will be judged.
Except the power to fix the challenge of many committees still rests with the president.
To Parliament now, where the minority is questioning President Akufo-Addo's commitment to getting the anti-vigilantism bill passed into law after he set a deadline of June 2019 for its approval. Though Parliament has been recalled for an emergency sitting to consider the bill, the House is engaged with other matters. President Akufo-Addo, at a recent meeting with anti-corruption groups, reiterated his commitment to the bill. But minority spokesperson on constitutional and legal affairs, Inusaf Hussaini, says the assurances are mere talk, even though his committee chairman, Ben Abdallah, disagrees.
The president should not be worried about a slow pace. The president should be worried about who is pursuing an agenda in this House. If it is indeed the agenda of the president to have the vigilantism vigilantism bill passed, which vigilantism bill was given enough publicity by the media, which media stated that we're going to consider the bill on the 29th, which bill is not being considered. The president should be telling us why the bill is not considered and not the slow pace.
Himself or the majority leader, who is the leader of government business, who should the president be whipping in line to really get this back on the agenda, you think?
Himself. Himself. Why? Because, why? Did we vote any person to pursue government policy? He voted the president, and Article 58 vests authority in him, and we are waiting for him to show leadership and direction. Everything in this country is about leadership. In fact, leadership is cause. All others is effect. The slow pace is the effect of poor, bad, uncommitted leadership.
And for you, it falls directly at the doorstep of the president.
Oh, but on who?
Much as the vigilantism bill is urgent, we haven't given ourselves any time limitation period within which the vigilantism bill must be passed into law. But I know that it is a bill that is being treated urgently because it was brought to the House under the certificate of urgency, and the committee in its deliberation also thought the same way and reported back to the House that it was a bill that had to be treated urgently. And you know, the president wants everything done quickly,
yes,
which is right, which is good, which is legitimate, and that is exactly what we are also working with.
Let's stay in Parliament for a moment. More than a month after the Right to Information law was passed, JoyNews is learning it is yet to receive presidential assent. Why? Well, because Parliament hasn't passed it on to the presidency. The RTI bill, after several years with the legislature, was eventually passed on March 26th. Its current status only became apparent after a member of the RTI coalition at a forum on implementation of the law demanded to know whether it had been assented to. Now, there's more in this report.
Following months of unending agitation, Parliament passed the law touted as key to ensuring a transparent governance structure. The RTI coalition, however, wants to know why the president hasn't assented to the law.
The status of the bill. Has it been cleaned up and presented to the office of the president for the assent of the president? I think that's crucial for us.
Minister for Parliamentary Affairs Oseche Mensah-Bones, however, explains Parliament is yet to complete work on the law.
It's being done, and usually when we finish, I engage my table officers because occasionally, you know, a misplacement of even the punctuation mark could alter the character of the whole provision. So we then will have to apply a comb, a very fine comb, to ensure that we clean up before we send it to the president. That is what we've been doing, and we are now in the process of cleaning up the 4 laws that we did. The RTI, Iron and Steel, remember, Institute of Chartered Bankers, and the payment systems. These 4 we are doing concurrently. That displays why it's not been possible to let the president append his signatures to them. But it's important that we hurry our steps.
The coalition believes placing timelines on submission of laws is the way to go.
I think that would be very, very useful if they could regulate the timelines for transmission of bills to the president for his assent. You know? Because as it is now, a bill can be passed and it can take many, many months, you know, before it is sent to the president.
JoyNews is learning Parliament expects to complete work on the law by close of the week.
Let's do some other stories. One of the 6 footbridges on the Medina-Adenta Highway has been opened to the public. Residents along the highway staged a massive protest last year over the failure to complete installation of the bridges. Now, they say that was to blame for the many pedestrian knockdowns on that stretch. Now, though pedestrians use the open footbridge and are excited about it, there are already complaints that it takes quite a bit of time to cross over.
Residents of Adenta protesting in November last year after a student of the West Africa Senior High School was knocked down. Their anger stemmed from many other pedestrian knockdowns on that stretch. The protest yielded the necessary results. Finally, government gave a commitment that the footbridges would be fixed by April this year. On the last day of April, only 1 out of the 6 footbridges had been completed and opened for use. The footbridges at Firestone, Zongo Junction, Redco, SDA and Adenta Junction were still under construction. Residents living at Rich Junction were elated. Jifa Anane says in the past he was never at ease whenever his family members stepped out.
It came at the right time because some of us, moving up and down, it's problematic. So actually I started using it yesterday and it's quite good because at least I get to cross easily. And my parents who are also around get to cross it at least now. Once they are going to town, I have the feeling that they are safe, they will return home safely. And it's good, it's okay.
I met Believe Dovlo carrying a sack of cassava on her head. She was excited about the bridge. I am very excited about the bridge, but because I'm carrying this heavy load, my thighs hurt because the walkway is very long. Godfred Obeng is not too happy with the work done by engineers.
This bridge, I would really praise the government for doing this. But my disappointment is on the engineering side. Seriously, they are doing this thing to help the disabled. But how can you help a disabled with this thing? Imagine somebody climbing about 200 meters, using crutches to climb these 200 meters. Even for the funny thing is, this side is even longer than, when you calculate, it's twice the overhead. So both sides, you are just crossing the road 5 times for crossing one bridge.
But the engineer Enoch Enyimedu says the structure was designed to best suit persons with disability.
The reason for this is that, this bridge is disabled friendly, right? And you realize that for them, most of them, they use wheelchairs and some use the walking sticks and all. If we are supposed to make this shorter, that means we are going to have a very steep ramp. That will be very difficult for them to access the footbridge and cross to the other side.
The footbridge, when completed, will halt the practice of pedestrians competing with speeding vehicles. The question then is, when will the 5 be finally completed?
Right, now the Civil and Local Government Staff Association of Ghana, CLOGSAG, is raising concerns over the involvement of the Auditor General's office in the elimination of ghost names from the payroll. Now the group maintains that that is not the core function of the office and should be left to management of the relevant state agencies and internal auditors. Auditor General Daniel Domilovo in July 2018 announced his office's nationwide exercise aimed at removing from the payroll deceased persons and other individuals who shouldn't be there. Now, addressing a news conference in Accra, the Executive Director of CLOGSAG, Isaac Bampo, said the Auditor General will end up scrutinizing his own work if he is to execute that task.
If you think you cannot perform your functions per what the constituent is saying, if I am, the best thing is to get out of that place. Then you don't qualify to be there.
Will not resign. Will you go to court?
Well, it's for the people to decide. That's why we are bringing it for public consumption. That we need an Auditor General who will not perform the functions allotted to him and rather go and perform other people's function. Are we getting value for money? It's for the people. It's for the people. The people.
Why won't you petition the President or Civil Service Council or the Public Service Commission?
Well, I think these are issues that we've been talking about for a long time. This is not the first time we'll be talking some of this, especially with the consultancies. But we think now the public must know what is happening because the power rests with the people. So for all these years that you've audited, what has been your recommendations? What has been your assessment? Those management units that have flouted the law, what has happened to them? This is a question you need to ask, not you yourself going to perform those functions, because there's every unit has got a manager over there who is supposed to verify. So if these managers are not being held responsible, and then you now want to go and perform that function, who is going to hold you responsible? That's the question I'm asking, because everybody has got his role. Let the person perform the role and go and audit him and say that, look, How come 5 days? Let him be sent to wherever quarters you have to send a person, but not you go and perform that function.
Right. Well, that's where we bring the news to a close. And of course, there's even more to come on the AM show. We'll bring you the latest traffic around the city and, of course, all the newspaper headlines right after this.